Hello. Um, Goodness, this is my third of three videos today, so I'm already like, poof. But I wanted to make sure to clearly cover some feedback about the paper you're writing. I have a few things to say on this. I will have shared a video with you guys about the grading for discussions, and your class doesn't list things the same as the other classes. So if you try to follow along on that one, you're going to see it doesn't quite work. But what I say about the rubric is the same because your discussions are graded exactly the same way as all of my other classes. Um, anyway, wanted to get that out of the way. I discovered it because when I was getting ready to make this one, I was going to show you the rubric. And yeah, so let's talk about this paper. I am, of course, going to do the share screen thing, and you're going to see a bunch. So here, right here, this is your class. I only have one section for environmental science, so that makes this super duper easy. Now, let's talk about your paper. Go to content, go to papers and such. And under papers and such, we've got paper details, paper info, more detail, news articles, and video about paper and rubric. I have already made a video about this before. And when there was this extra credit thing, it became obvious people are either so sad actually using chat to answer an extra credit thing about what you're doing. And trust me, I know that's what a lot of the people did because anyone who makes comments about their thesis statement and blah, 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 that's a complete amount of BS because that has nothing to do with your paper. Um, so check yourself and make sure you actually do your own work. So I'm covering this again. So your paper details, let's just go straight there. Here we go. Starting place. This is what was given to you at the very beginning of the term, where you were told to research. You were supposed to be looking at what the EPA was created for, like what was its purpose? Hint, the name's its Environmental Protection Agency. So take a look. I can tell you Nixon is the one who started it way back when, but you're supposed to look why it was built, or created, what was its purpose. Notice I keep saying what was, because then you also have to look at now, currently, what is the EPA's main purpose? If you plug this into chat, you will most likely get the wrong answer. I know this because of my American government classes, who a huge portion of people did that and got the wrong answer. I know what it currently says, so make sure you know what it currently says. You're also supposed to be looking into renewable and non-renewable resources, like what are they, that kind of a thing. There we go. For the first stage of the paper, do that. Research, start learning. That was the entire purpose of the first part. Now, after that, I then gave you more details about the paper info. And that was this. And it tells you, one, you're supposed to have been working on this the whole term, and there's a lot of you who haven't. Paper is going to be graded on this. So you have to recap the environmental protections that have been removed since January 20th, 2025. Explain how these are going to affect the environment. Only mention politics where it pertains to laws. The politics must be looked at for how policies work, like protect or hurt the environment. This is not a right versus left thing. That means at no point should you be saying the Republicans or the Democrats, not unless you're blending it into your story somehow. But it is just policies, because what protects our environment more than anything is the way our government is run, because we have laws for different reasons. That's why the EPA was originally designed, was in order to force corporations and others to follow specific rules so humans didn't die faster, basically. You are not to use the word economy unless it's connected to the environment. If you sit there and go on and on about how we have to remember about the economy, unless this is built into your story for a very specific reason, that has nothing to do with it. Because if you think critically, if we don't have a climate, we have no people, we have no economy. It's that simple. The fewer protections, the worse the climate gets, the worse the pollution gets, the worse our natural disasters get, the worse our health gets, the more of a strain on the economy it is. So anyone who's sitting there going off about we need to not protect the environment so we can make more money, you've completely missed the point. You don't understand how money works. And you have fallen under the misconception that money fixes everything. So you are required, this being an environmental science class, to look at the environment. So if you mention economy, it has to be how the economy is being affected due to what's happening. It is not a economy or the environment topic. Has to be your own words, no quotes. No quotes at all, unless in your story it is somebody speaking. But you have no quotes. Must be grammatically correct, must include news articles less than 1 month old. The more recent, the better. This one I've had a few people ask me about. What I would do is write my entire story, but then right before I turned it in, get a really recent article and pop it in there real quick. That's what I would do. Use valid sources only, no Wikipedia, whitehouse.gov, blocks, etc. All sources must be verifiable. You can use whitehouse.gov or blogs if it's written into your story that they're looking at it, but you can't use it as a fact because they are not reputable or valid anymore. Must have a minimum of 10 valid sources. Here comes that valid again. So like I just said, you can use whitehouse.gov if somebody in your story is talking about it, but that does not count as a valid source. And I hate to keep saying it, but whitehouse.gov is not a valid source currently because the current administration is just simply deciding to write their own rules, basically. And a lot of the stuff being put up is not scientifically accurate. And so I can't count that. And yes, I do know because that's literally, I got degrees in this stuff. Anyway, must provide personal thoughts on each and keep it focused on the environment. This means in your story, I need to know how you yourself feel. Tie everything into the text and what has been covered throughout the term in this class. Since this is something you're supposed to have been writing the entire term, I need to see it all come together. It does not mean in chapter 1, ... in chapter 2, ... It means you're putting all the concepts together. If you have ever seen the movie WALL-E, WALL-E does a great job of that. WALL-E covers almost everything in our textbook. It's kind of cool. Conclude with a prediction of how the planet/environment will be in the next few years based on what has been happening since January 20th, 2025. This conclusion needs to match the evidence shown throughout the paper. This means you have to actually put it all together. Yeah, I need to see the critical thinking skills, logical progression. If we keep cutting the, well, here we go. Watch the Lorax. The Lorax shows literally what could happen. Again, show critical thinking, bonus points for entertaining me. So what I want to make sure you understand is this is not a research paper. This is a story. You are writing a story. It is, and I'm actually going to make some adjustments here because I said it in the other video. I'm going to make sure it's here. You're writing a story for me, not a research paper. You're not researchers. You have to research to get the knowledge so you can write me a story, but you're writing me a story. If you click here, this is the grading rubric. So recap about the environmental stuff, politics, economy, in your own words, grammatically correct, blah, blah, blah. All of this is what we just covered. Now, what I am going to do is add in there that, again, this is not a research paper. It is a story, but you are putting all of it together. That's why bonus points for entertaining me. You are writing me a fictional story because you're trying to go into the future. That's why it said about predicting where it's going to go. And that's why I mentioned the Lorax, because the fewer regulations you have on pollution going into the air, the worse quality air you're going to have, the less clean air you're going to have, and the more issues. If you watch not the original Lorax, but the remake, which is probably what most of you know as the Lorax, it does a really, really good job of showing you a logical progression. WALL-E shows you a logical progression. You're doing this. I know one of the feedbacks I got was somebody was going to do a story about a bear and talking to a person. I love that. I love that. Come up with an idea. You can have a classroom. You can have people. You can have aliens. You can have humans living on another planet because we made the earth inhabitable. Use your imagination. Tell me a story, putting all that together. This is how I'm going to know you actually know it. If you just copy paste and you just plug it into chat and turn that in, please don't do that. You are supposed to write me a story, and I am about to make adjustments to the online part to remind you of that. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, shoot me a message, ask, and I will attempt to clarify. So I think that's it. I'm so tired of videos. Peace out.